Hey everybody, it's Robyn and welcome to my channel. Today on the Robyn's Nest, I have another epic Fortnite cake to share with all of you. We're going to be caking Meowscles out of mostly buttercream, and trust me guys, he's a lot easier than he may seem. I think you guys are going to find this one really fun, so let's get right into it. So for today's cake, we're going to start out with 1/8" chocolate cake layer, which I'm first going to level off with my cake leveler, and then we're going to torque this into 2 separate layers. So once we finish prepping our layers, we can begin stacking and filling. So we're going to take a little bit of buttercream and we're going to apply that to our cake board and smooth it out a little bit. And that's going to act as a bit of a glue for our first layer of cake to stick to. And now I'm going to go ahead and take that same piping bag full of chocolate American buttercream and we're going to add a nice thick generous layer in between our 2 layers of cake. And I'm actually going to smooth it out a little bit so we don't end up with any air bubbles in between our layers. So now that we have our layers filled, we're going to go ahead and cut out the shape of our cake. So I've created a very simple stencil using a piece of paper in the shape of Meowscles' head, and I've just placed that on top of the cake and I'm using a serrated knife to cut the excess away. Now as you'll see, I fell a little short up around the ears, so we're just going to take a little bit of cake scrap and some buttercream, stick that into place, and then cut the extra away. So now that we've cut out the shape of our cake, I'm going to go ahead and trim a little bit off the thickness of the ears as well as all around the edge of the cake, and that's going to help us make this cake look a little bit more 3D when we add our buttercream. Now once you're happy with the shape of your cake, we're going to go ahead and start our crumb coat. So I'm going to take that same chocolate American buttercream and we're going to add a fairly thick coat all over our cake, and I'm going to use a piping bag to apply it because that's going to help us get into all those nooks and crannies a lot easier, and it's going to give you a nice even layer all over the cake. Now to smooth our cake, we're going to be using what's called a flexible plastic smoother. Now this one I just made myself out of a flexible cutting board that I bought at the dollar store, and I cut it into the shape that I needed. Now there are alternate options. You can just use a cake smoother, or you can use a piece of cardstock or acetate. Those work as well. But I really like this option because, as I said, it's completely customizable and very cheap and easy. So once we've finished with our crumb coat, we're going to pop our cake in the fridge to firm up completely because we want that frosting to be nice and hard when we go to add our next color of buttercream. Now once our cake has firmed up completely, we're going to go ahead and take our template and we're going to mark off the lines that are going to divide each color on our cake. Now once we have that established, now I'm going to take a little bit of black buttercream and a flexible smoother and we're going to fill in the inside of those ears. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our piping bag full of this nice dark bluey gray, and I'm going to pipe the outline to divide the colors first, and then we're going to fill in the complete right side of the cake. So you're going to make sure to go all around the edge as well, and we're even going to pipe a nice thick line of buttercream around the edge of the ear. So once we have that section completely filled in, we're going to grab our smoother once again and we're going to start going over this whole section of cake. Now this part doesn't have to look absolutely perfect because we will be going over it again later on when it comes time to clean up those lines in between each color. Now once I finish smoothing this section, I'm going to start cleaning up these lines like I just mentioned, and this part is actually quite important. You want these to be nice and straight because when we do that final smoothing, if they're not, it will show through in the final product. And we're also going to chill our cake really well in between each color to prevent any color blending. So next up, we're going to work on our next lightest color, which happens to be some orange. Now, as you guys may have noticed, I started with my darkest color first, and the reasoning for this was to give it the most amount of time to chill before starting my lighter colors and to help prevent any color bleeding, especially when I'm adding my white and when I'm doing my final smoothing. But honestly, I just do it this way as a precaution because as long as you chill thoroughly in between each color, this shouldn't be a problem. So So once I have that section filled in, I'm once again going to start smoothing. Now I like to start around the outside first and clean up my edges and then carefully work my way to the top. Now once I reach that point where the two colors meet, I like to tread carefully because it's not going to blend dramatically, but it is going to ever so slightly. So you're going to want to press very, very lightly, because if you go too hard, you could smush the two colors together and then there will be some potential bleeding. So do press very lightly. Now once we've gotten the surface of this color nice and smooth and we've sharpened up that edge a little bit, giving us a nice clean line, we're going to pop our cake into the fridge for a good 30 minutes to allow our buttercream to completely firm up before we start our next color, which happens to be white. Because once we get closer to those darker colors, we want to be able to smooth that out and get it nice and close to the edge without any color blending. And I think that's starting to look pretty great already. We kept everything nice and cold while we were working with our buttercream, and that makes a huge difference. So this is going to look awesome when we do our final smoothing. But first, we're going to pop our cake off into the freezer this time for one final chill, and while we're waiting, we're going to do our fondant decorations. So I've just rolled out a thin piece of black fondant and I've used my stencil to mark off what I need, and we're just cutting out some simple eyes and a mouth. But if you guys would prefer, you can do this part with buttercream. However, I like to use fondant just because it looks so sharp and clean. Just like these lines are gonna look when I'm finished smoothing. So as you guys can see, I am using a bench scraper this time, and my buttercream is nice and cold, almost frozen actually, and every scrape is making those lines look nice and clean. But contrary to the steps that we took before where I said to scrape lightly, our buttercream has firmed up and those lines are set. So when we scrape a little bit harder, those lines are just going to come extra clean. But be sure to work quickly because you do not want those colors to start blending if your buttercream warms up a little bit. Well, there you have it guys, our Meowscles is complete. Now, I wish I had gotten to make him with his muscles, it would have been really cute, but I think this guy turned out pretty sweet and I hope you guys all think so too. So please leave a like and drop us a comment to let us know what you think down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for future videos. Thanks for watching guys, and I hope to see you on the next one.